How many of you have spent years of your precious life running after things, chasing people, pursuing opportunities, desperately grasping for what you believe will make you complete? How many sleepless nights have you endured, wondering why your efforts seem to yield so little fruit? Tonight, I tell you that this exhausting pursuit is not only unnecessary, but counterproductive to the very thing you seek to achieve. The universe operates on principles far more elegant and effortless than the struggle you have been taught to embrace. These principles are not mystical abstractions, but concrete laws, as reliable as the law of gravity itself. When you understand that everything in your external world is but a reflection of your internal state of consciousness, you begin to grasp why chasing creates distance, while attraction creates unity. Consider for a moment the nature of attraction itself. When you observe the natural world, you see that like attracts like with perfect precision. The earth attracts objects to its surface not through effort or strain, but through its very nature, its inherent gravitational field. Similarly, you possess within yourself a field of consciousness that attracts experiences, people, and circumstances that matches frequency and quality. But here lies the great misunderstanding that has caused so much unnecessary suffering in the world. Most people believe that they must first change their external circumstances in order to feel differently inside. They think they must first acquire the relationship, the wealth, the recognition, the health, and then they will finally experience the joy, peace, love, and fulfillment they seek. This is exactly backwards from how the universe actually functions. Your consciousness is the cause and your external world is the effect. Your feelings, your mental states, your assumptions about yourself and life are the creative forces that shape and mold your experience. When you chase something, you are operating from the consciousness of lack, from the assumption that you do not have what you seek. And the universe, being perfectly responsive to consciousness, continues to give you experiences that confirm this assumption of not having. This is why the harder you chase, the more elusive your desire becomes. This is why desperation repels while confidence attracts. This is why those who seem to effortlessly receive what they want are not necessarily more deserving or fortunate, but are operating from a different state of consciousness altogether. Now, what does it mean to attract rather than chase? Attraction begins with a fundamental shift in your understanding of yourself and your relationship to your desires. Instead of seeing yourself as separate from what you want, you must come to recognize that in the realm of consciousness, you and your fulfilled desire are one. This is not philosophical speculation, but practical metaphysics. When you desire something, that very desire indicates that in the infinite field of possibilities, a version of you already exists who has that thing. Your work is not to chase this version of yourself, but to become conscious of it, to feel what it would feel like to be that person, to think the thoughts that person would think, to walk through life with the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you already are who you wish to be. This requires what I call living in the end. Instead of focusing on the process of getting, you focus on the feeling of having. Instead of wondering how and when your desire will manifest, you cultivate the inner conviction that it already has manifested, at least in the realm of consciousness, which is the only realm that truly matters because it is the realm from which all physical manifestation springs. But let me be clear about what this means practically. Living in the end does not mean pretending or engaging in wishful thinking. It means cultivating the actual feeling state, the actual consciousness of already being the person who has what you desire. It means training your imagination to accept as true what your senses may not yet confirm. Your imagination is not mere fantasy. Your imagination is the creative power of God within you. Every single thing that exists in your physical world was first imagined. Every building, every invention, every relationship, every circumstance began as an imaginal act. When you consciously direct your imagination toward the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you set in motion forces that must, by law, produce corresponding external results. This is where most people stumble. They attempt to use their imagination sporadically, perhaps during a few minutes of visualization, and then spend the rest of their day dwelling in old patterns of thought and feeling that contradict their desire. They wonder why their imagination seems powerless, never realizing that imagination is always working, always creating, always manifesting whatever feeling state they most consistently inhabit. The secret of attraction lies in persistence of assumption. You must persist in the assumption that you already are who you want to be. You already have what you want to have, regardless of what your current circumstances might suggest. This persistence is not effortful striving, but rather a gentle, consistent return to the feeling of the wish fulfilled whenever you notice your consciousness has wandered into states of lack or limitation. Think of it this way. If you were absolutely certain that a dear friend was coming to visit you tomorrow, how would you feel today? You would feel peaceful, perhaps excited, certainly not worried or anxious about whether they would arrive. You would simply know they were coming and would naturally prepare for their arrival. This is exactly the consciousness you must maintain regarding your desires. Not the desperate hope that they might manifest, but the quiet certainty that they already are manifesting. This certainty cannot be forced or manufactured through mental effort. It emerges naturally when you truly understand that consciousness is the only reality, and that everything else is just consciousness pushed out, made visible. When you grasp that you are not a physical being having spiritual experiences, but rather a spiritual being having physical experiences, the whole game changes. Your body, your circumstances, your relationships, your environment are all projections of your consciousness. Much like images on a movie screen are projections of the film. If you want to change what appears on the screen, you do not manipulate the screen itself. You change the film. Similarly, if you want to change your external world, you do not manipulate external conditions. You change your consciousness. This is why chasing is futile and attraction is inevitable. When you chase, you are trying to change the screen while leaving the film unchanged. When you attract, you change the film, and the screen must change accordingly. There is no choice in the matter. Consciousness always externalizes itself. It cannot do otherwise. But what about action, you might ask? Should you take no action at all? Of course you should take action. But the quality and nature of that action will be completely different when it springs from the consciousness of already having rather than the consciousness of trying to get. Action taken from the state of having is inspired action. It feels natural, effortless, joyful. You are moved to act not from desperation or fear of missing out, but from the overflow of your fulfilled consciousness. When you are truly living in the consciousness of your wish fulfilled, the right actions will suggest themselves to you. The right opportunities will present themselves. The right people will enter your life. But these will not feel like coincidences or strokes of luck. They will feel like the natural unfolding of what was always meant to be. This brings us to one of the most beautiful aspects of living by attraction rather than chase. You will discover that what comes to you is always better than what you were chasing. When you release the need to control exactly how and when and through whom your good comes to you, you have infinite inches to orchestrate circumstances in ways far more wonderful than your limited human mind could have devised. How many times have you been disappointed when something you were chasing did not materialize, only to later realize that something far better was waiting for you? How many times have you received exactly what you needed at exactly the right moment, even though it did not come in the form you expected? This is the universe conspiring in your favor. But it can only do so when you release the tight grip of trying to control outcomes and instead trust the perfect intelligence that governs all manifestation. The key to this trust lies in understanding that your desires are not arbitrary ones imposed upon an unwilling universe. Your desires are actually the universe calling you toward greater expressions of yourself. Every genuine desire you have is a preview of something that already exists for you in the realm of infinite possibilities. You would not be capable of wanting something that was not already yours in consciousness. This is why what belongs to you will find you. It is not really separate from you. It is you pushed out, made manifest. But as long as you relate to it as something external that you must pursue and capture, you maintain the illusion of separation that prevents its natural emergence into your experience. Think of the sun and its rays. The rays are not separate from the sun trying to reach it. They are the sun itself extended. Similarly, your good is not separate from you. It is you yourself, extended into form and experience. When you realize this, the whole frantic energy of chasing dissolves into the peaceful recognition that you need only be yourself fully. And everything that is yours by divine right will naturally flow into your experience. But being yourself fully does not mean remaining as you have always been. It means becoming conscious of who you really are beneath all the limitations you have accepted about yourself. It means recognizing that the person who already has what you desire is not some future version of you, but your true self, temporarily obscured by false beliefs and assumptions. Every limitation in your life exists only because you have accepted it as true. Every lack, every problem, every frustration is simply the outpicturing of a limiting belief you have unconsciously maintained. But here is the wonderful news. Since consciousness is the only cause, you can change any condition by changing your consciousness of it. This does not mean denying what appears to be true in your external world. It means recognizing that what appears to be true is only relatively true, true only as long as you continue to give it the consent of your consciousness. The moment you withdraw that consent and begin to consciously assume something different, you initiate a change that must manifest externally. Let me give you a practical example of how this works. Suppose you desire a loving relationship but find yourself continually attracting partners who are unavailable or unsuitable. The chasing approach would have you trying harder to find the right person, perhaps changing your appearance, your social circles, your dating strategies. But all of this effort springs from the consciousness that you are someone who does not have love, someone who must search for it outside yourself. The attraction approach requires you to first become conscious of yourself as someone who is already deeply loved and cherished. Not by any specific person, but by life itself, by the universe, by the very consciousness that you are. When you truly feel this love for yourself, when you recognize your own inherent lovability and worth, you will naturally attract people who reflect this consciousness to you. But the miracle goes even deeper than this. When you are truly filled with self-love and self-acceptance, you may discover that you no longer need another person to complete you. You may find that the relationship you attract is not born from neediness or loneliness, but from genuine joy and the desire to share your overflow of love with another. This creates an entirely different quality of relationship, one based on freedom rather than dependency, on choice rather than desperation. This principle applies to every area of life. If you desire wealth, you must first become conscious of yourself as inherently abundant, as someone to whom prosperity flows naturally. If you desire health, you must first feel what it feels like to be vibrantly healthy and alive. If you desire recognition for your talents, you must first recognize and appreciate your own gifts without waiting for external validation. Do you see the pattern? In every case, you must become internally what you wish to experience externally. This is not about earning or deserving. This is about aligning your consciousness with the truth of what already exists in the infinite field of possibilities. But how do you maintain this consciousness when everything around you seems to contradict it? How do you feel abundant when your bank account is empty? How do you feel loved when you are alone? How do you feel healthy when your body is showing symptoms of illness? This is where the real work begins, and it is work that requires tremendous discipline and persistence. The answer lies in understanding the difference between facts and truth. Facts are the current conditions visible to your senses. Truth is what is possible in consciousness. Facts change constantly. Truth is eternal. When you live by facts, you remain imprisoned by current conditions. When you live by truth, you become a conscious creator of new conditions. This does not mean you ignore practical realities or become delusional. It means you recognize that practical realities are simply the current picturing of past consciousness, while your present consciousness is creating your future realities. You deal appropriately with current facts, while inwardly dwelling in the truth of what you are becoming. This brings us to the crucial understanding that manifestation takes time. There is always an interval between the shift in consciousness and its full expression in your external world. During this interval, you must maintain your new consciousness despite appearances that might suggest nothing is changing. This is the test that determines whether you will successfully attract what you desire or fall back into old patterns of chasing. Most people give up during this interval. They assume their new way of thinking is not working and revert to old methods of struggle and effort. But those who persist, who continue to live in the consciousness of their wish fulfilled, regardless of external appearances, always see their assumption manifest in their experience. This persistence is made easier when you understand that the interval serves a purpose. It allows the universe to rearrange itself to accommodate your new consciousness. It allows you to become fully established in your new self-concept before external circumstances change. It ensures that when your manifestation appears, you will be truly ready to receive and maintain it. During this interval, you may notice subtle changes beginning to occur. New people may enter your life. New opportunities may present themselves. Your own thoughts and reactions may begin to shift. These are signs that your new consciousness is taking root and beginning to externalize itself. Trust these signs even when the full manifestation has not yet appeared. Remember, the universe is always working in your favor, but its methods are often different from what your human mind expects. What looks like delay may actually be divine timing. What seems like rejection may actually be redirection towards something better. What appears to be failure may actually be preparation for greater success. This is why attraction requires faith, but not blind faith. It requires faith based on understanding. Faith rooted in the knowledge that consciousness is the only cause and effect is inevitable. When you plant a seed in the ground, you do not doubt that it will grow simply because you cannot see immediate evidence of growth. You trust the process because you understand the law of plant growth. Similarly, when you plant a new assumption in consciousness, you must trust the process of manifestation even when you cannot yet see external evidence. But faith without works is dead, and the work required is the work of consciousness. You must daily, hourly, moment by moment, choose to return to the feeling of your wish fulfilled. You must catch yourself when your thoughts drift into old patterns of lack and limitation and gently redirect them toward the consciousness of already having what you desire. This is not always easy, especially in the beginning. Your old consciousness has momentum. It has been practiced for years, perhaps decades. It will not give up without resistance. But every time you choose the new consciousness over the old, you weaken the old patterns and strengthen the new ones. Eventually, living in the consciousness of your wish fulfilled becomes as natural as breathing. And what happens then is truly miraculous. You will begin to notice that circumstances arrange themselves to support your new consciousness. People will offer help without being asked. Opportunities will present themselves at exactly the right moment. Obstacles that once seemed insurmountable will simply dissolve. What you once chased will begin to chase you. This is not metaphor. This is the literal operation of spiritual law. When your consciousness is aligned with your desire, you become a magnet for everything that corresponds to that consciousness. You do not need to know how this happens. You do not need to understand the mechanisms. You need only to maintain the consciousness and trust the process. But there is something even more wonderful than receiving what you thought you wanted. As you live increasingly from the consciousness of fulfillment rather than lack, you will discover that your capacity for joy, peace, and satisfaction grows exponentially. You will find that you are less dependent on external conditions for your happiness. You will realize that the ultimate treasure was never the things you desire, but the consciousness itself. The awareness that you are the creator of experience. From this consciousness, your desires themselves will begin to change. You will want what serves not only yourself, but the highest good of all. You will be drawn to desires that express more love, more beauty, more truth in the world. Your personal fulfillment will become a contribution to the greater fulfillment of humanity itself. This is the natural evolution of consciousness when it's freed from the bondage of chasing and allowed to express itself through attraction. What begins as a personal technique for manifesting desires eventually becomes a way of living that benefits everyone it touches. Those around you will begin to notice something different about you. They will be drawn to your peace, your confidence, your natural radiance. They will want to know your secret, and you will be able to share with them The same truth I am sharing with you tonight, that everything they seek is already theirs in consciousness, waiting only for their recognition and acceptance. But perhaps the most profound realization that comes from living by attraction rather than chase is the understanding that you were never really lacking anything to begin with. All the things you thought you needed in order to be happy, fulfilled, or complete were always available to you in consciousness. The love you sought from others was always present in your relationship with yourself and with life. The abundance you thought existed only in material possessions was always flowing through your awareness of the infinite possibilities available in every moment. The recognition you craved from the world was always available in your appreciation of your own unique gifts and contributions. The security you thought could only come from external circumstances was always present in your understanding that consciousness itself is your permanent foundation, unchanging and eternal regardless of temporary conditions. When you realize this, gratitude becomes your natural state. Not gratitude for what you hope to receive, but gratitude for what you are already receiving in every moment. Not gratitude as a technique to attract more, but gratitude as the spontaneous response to recognizing the abundance that is always present. From this state of natural gratitude, you attract effortlessly because you are no longer attracting from need, but from overflow. You give because you cannot help but give, having recognized that giving and receiving are the same movement of consciousness. You love because you are love itself, not because you hope to receive love in return. This is the consciousness of one who has learned the secret of attraction. This is the state of being that makes chasing unnecessary and magnetism inevitable. This is your natural state, obscured only temporarily by beliefs that taught you to see yourself as separate from your good. Tonight, I invite you to begin the journey back to this natural state. I invite you to experiment with living in the consciousness of your wish fulfilled, even if only for a few minutes at a time in the beginning. I invite you to feel what it would feel like to already have what you desire, to already be who you want to become. Notice how different this feels from the energy of chasing. Notice how peaceful, how natural, how right it feels to assume that what belongs to you is already yours. Notice how this assumption, when maintained consistently, begins to change not only how you feel, but how others respond to you and how circumstances arrange themselves around you. Most importantly, notice that this is not a technique you are learning, but a truth you are remembering. Deep within you, beneath all the conditioning and programming, you have always known that you are the creator of your experience. You have always known that consciousness is the only reality and that everything else is consciousness made visible. The journey from chasing to attracting is really the journey from forgetfulness to remembrance, from believing yourself to be a victim of circumstances to recognizing yourself as the author of your story. It is the journey from seeing yourself as separate from your good to knowing yourself as one with all that you desire. This journey requires courage because it asks you to rely on invisible principles rather than visible proof. It requires faith because it asks you to believe in your power, to create before you have evidence of that power. It requires persistence because it asks you to maintain new assumptions, even when old conditions temporarily persist. But the rewards of this journey are beyond anything you can imagine from your current perspective. To live in the consciousness of already having everything you need, to move through life with the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you are the creator of your experience, to attract effortlessly what serves your highest good. This is to live as you were meant to live. You were not meant to struggle and chase and fight for scraps of happiness in a hostile universe. You were meant to live in the awareness of your inherent power, your natural abundance, your divine right to experience all the good that life has to offer. You were meant to be a conscious collaborator with the infinite intelligence that governs all manifestation. The time for chasing is over. The time for attraction has begun. What belongs to you is already on its way to you, drawn by the magnetic power of your aligned consciousness. Your only work is to be the person who already has what you desire, to feel what that person would feel, to think what that person would think, to trust what that person would trust. Do this consistently, persistently, faithfully. And you will discover that the universe is not only willing, but eager to fulfill your every genuine desire. You will learn that what you thought was hard work was actually resistance to your own good. You will understand that what you believed required struggle was simply waiting for your acceptance. Tonight, accept the truth of who you are. Accept your power to create through consciousness. Accept that what you desire already desires you. Accept that the chase is over and the time of attraction has begun. Accept that what belongs to you will find you, because in the deepest truth, it never left you at all. This is not theory. This is not philosophy. This is the practical spiritual science that governs all manifestation. Use it wisely. Use it lovingly. Use it in service of your highest vision for yourself and for the world. And watch as your life transforms from one of desperate seeking to one of graceful receiving, from one of lack and limitation to one of abundance and infinite possibility. The choice is yours in every moment. Chase or attract. Seek or receive. Believe in separation or know your unity with all good. Whatever you choose will become your experience, because consciousness is always faithful to its own assumptions. Choose well and choose now, for this moment is the only moment in which creation actually occurs. This moment is where your future is being born from the womb of your present consciousness. Make this moment count. Make this moment the beginning of a new way of being in the world. Make this moment the end of chasing and the beginning of attraction. What belongs to you is waiting for your recognition. What is yours by divine right is ready to emerge into your experience. All that remains is for you to accept it, to feel it, to know it as already done. And in that knowing, in that feeling, in that acceptance, you will discover the truth that sets all souls free. You are not seeking your good is seeking you. You need not chase what belongs to you. It will find you as surely as the dawn finds the earth, as surely as the river finds the sea, as surely as love finds an open heart ready to receive it.